Hello and welcome to my YouTube video all about my Range Rover L322. I'm about to set off on a little drive and hopefully we can explore some of the good, the bad and the really annoying things about a Range Rover. Land Rover internally name their vehicles. The one after this is the 405, this one is the L322, and it just tells you what design it is, I suppose. And this ran from the early noughties through to 2012, and this is a 2012 model. It's the final edition actually, so it's a Westminster. And when I was shopping for these, I wanted a couple of things. I wanted the 4.4 diesel V8, and I also wanted either a Westminster or a Vogue SE, because they were, other than an autobiography, they were the top of the range models. I have two young children. I haven't gone for cream leather, actually I've gone for black, which a lot of people don't like, but actually from a versatility point of view, it's really great. You know, it hides everything, everything's wiped clean, it's a very nice soft leather. This actually has vented, so cooled seats and heated seats in the front and heated seats in the rear. What's it like to drive? Well, a Range Rover has these command driving positions, as all the Land Rover range does, which means you sit up slightly higher, you're quite in an upright position, you do have a nice armchair in a Range Rover. So in here I have digital television, so even though it's a 2012 car, 12 years old now, I still have TV. And it's a dual screen, which means the passenger can watch it whilst I'm driving. There's lots of things about using a Range Rover as a family car that make a lot of sense. Also, not being brand new makes a lot of sense as well, because I'm not that worried about the paint on the outside as I drive down country roads and getting it scuffed on the bushes. I'm not that worried about the kids clambering all over it or getting sticky fingers anywhere, because it was £15,500. Now actually online, I've had this for 18 months now, and online these are now sub £10,000, and I have to say, for 10,000 quid or less, what an amazing car. You know, where can you get for 10 grand heated and cooled seats, heated steering wheel for winter, lifesaver, heated windscreen for winter, lifesaver, a little fob when it's cold in the winter to press on and it starts a little diesel heater and it defrosts the car and warms it all up. So the car's ready for you. This is 12 years old, this technology, and yet I've got all the conveniences of a modern Tesla with an app. Driving it, it's very smooth, you've got all the controls on here. This model has cruise control but doesn't have adaptive cruise, and I didn't really want adaptive cruise. For the age of the car, I don't think it'll be that good. If you have one with adaptive cruise, let me know in the comments below. But I don't think it's necessary. Sometimes on even modern cars it doesn't work that well. But it's got everything you need. I mean, it does have sat-nav and you can get it updated at the dealerships, but I don't. I just use my phone in a cradle up here. I've had this car now for about 18 months. I've covered around about 28,000 miles, I think, from when I bought it. It's now done 124,500 miles, and it's going pretty well. I mean, I did have some issues at the beginning. Some were down to the dealer to sort out, and I did have a little battle there, but eventually they were sorted. And it did break down 1 mile after picking it up from the dealer. Again, not ideal. And I thought, what have I bought? But actually since then, it's had a couple of services. One thing I did do as soon as I bought it, I had all the oils changed. And I think that is a must. If you buy a Range Rover L322, you've got to get it into a Land Rover specialist and get them to change the engine oil. The gearbox oil is for life on these cars, but I've had it changed, and I also got all the diff oils, the differential oils changed. So I knew when I got it, I'd done everything I possibly could to make it as reliable as possible, and that there are comments online to say that you should do an oil change about every 10,000 miles, not the 16,000 miles that is recommended by Land Rover. But I haven't found that to be a problem, and I've spoken to 2 local garages that said there's no need to do it as long as you're doing it on time and you look after the car. Otherwise, they're fairly bulletproof. These have a towing capacity of 3.5 tons as well as standard, and that's part of the reason these things are so heavy. This weighs about 2.7 tons, but it also has a snatch rating, which means that you can be yanked out of a muddy bog and the chassis and all the underpinnings are okay. A snatch rating of 3 times its weight, which is nearly 7 odd tons. I don't think there's a better place to be, and there's definitely not a better place to be for £10,000. I mean, I paid 15 for this, so I've lost 5 grand in 18 months. But yeah, that's cheap. I did have a Tesla before this, and if I'd kept that for the same period of time, from what I achieved for it on selling it to now, it's about £18,000 that's lost in that same period. So I'm much better off in this. It's got Bluetooth to the car for my phone. It's got Bluetooth audio. There's a great little bit of kit, a little connector you can get. So this actually has an iPod connector, the old-fashioned, however many pin iPod connector you get for this. And you plug a little adapter in that goes to a little Bluetooth receiver, and it means that I can stream all my music. So it brings it right up to date with a little, I think it was about 40 or 50 pounds, a little part. And I did buy it. Unfortunately, I've still got it at home because I didn't realise, but someone's already put one in. But should you buy one, this 4.4 seems to be a fairly bulletproof engine. And it just cruises along. I'm doing 50 miles an hour, don't even notice it. Also in here, it is fairly modern. I mean, I do have the rotary dial to put it into drive and park, etc., which is a bit of a shame because I do prefer a lever that moves up and down. It's just slightly easier. The other thing is I've had 3 Defenders over the years, all of the old classic shape, but what would I rather be driving? For 10,000 quid I could get a Defender, but it's uncomfortable. My arm doesn't fit in it. It doesn't go very quickly. This has got 300 horsepower. It does the job of a Defender because I don't care about it too much because it's cheap. Yet it's comfortable. You don't get out feeling like you've had a battle to get somewhere. It just cruises along. I'm back down country lanes that are bumpy. And it doesn't feel that bad. It's smoothing them out. It's not like a Rolls Royce, I have to say. It's not wafting you down the road. But there's a level of comfort underpinned with a slight firmness. So there's not too much recoil and bouncy, bouncy, bouncy. It catches it. And you can feel that little catch. But it means it's stable and steady on the road. You've got confidence in turning into a turning at speed. And on the school run, I use a couple of little back roads, and I sometimes have to have 2 wheels off the road in quite rutty conditions. And I put all season tyres on this, and I run them all year round, but they're slightly heavier grip than needs be, so the tyre noise is probably worse on this than if I had conventional tyres on. I also get really good MPG out of this. I do about 28, 29 miles to the gallon, and I do a lot of town driving. And it is a real, there's a fair mix of dual carriageway driving as well, but, across the board, if I'm getting nearly 30 miles to the gallon, that's not bad. I'm happy with that. I'm not destroying the planet at 18 miles to the gallon. And for the money, it's not a brand new car that's ultra efficient, but then I haven't got a finance payment on a brand new car. Everything on this car just feels sturdy. The big knobs, the buttons, I can grab everything. I don't have to look in a screen and be pressing buttons. It's just there. Big fingers, big thumbs, gloves on, whatever it is. Easy, chunky, nice to do. And again, I don't really mind about the interior. It's 12 years old. It's worn really well. There's a few scuffs on this, there's a bit of shiny metal down here, and that is showing signs of wear. But I think whoever's had this before has put stuff down. I also looked at this car because it didn't have a tow bar. And I thought to myself, and it doesn't show much wear and tear on the tow bar connector. So I don't think it's ever had one. Which to me means the engine hasn't been overstressed with towing 3.5 tons day in and day out. And I've been proved currently quite right about that. 27,000 miles of driving, and it's never let me down. It always starts. And I don't know whether you've seen the video by Harry Metcalf of Harry's Garage, where he interviews Jeremy Clarkson. And Jeremy Clarkson always says the best car in the world is the Lexus LFA. But truth be told, he then goes on to say, probably this is the best car because this is the peak of Range Rover and Land Rover. He actually prefers the slightly earlier edition to this. But he's right. What more could you want from a car? What do you want a car to do other than what this can do? So what's it cost me to own? Probably around about £2,000 in 15 months in servicing. As I say, I did have a major service. It's been back in for another service since. I just can't see why everybody doesn't drive one of these. Also, insurance. They're not the cheapest to insure, but they're also not the most expensive. In the UK, Range Rovers have become almost to the point of uninsurable. Now, I think that is improving, but this does have keyless go, so there's a start button, but it doesn't have keyless entry, which means it's not affected by all these huge insurance premiums. I originally bought this car with a view that of keeping it for maybe a year. But I'm halfway through my second year and I have no inkling as to when I'm going to get rid of it. There's not any part of me that says, oh, I need a new car. And I'm quite impatient on new cars. My average length of time with a car is probably something like 6 months. Now, it has got better as I've got older, I have to say, but then the cars have got marginally more expensive. Yeah, this car has like every mod con that you could possibly want. Auto wipers, auto beams, high beam assist, so you leave your main beams on, driving down the road, a car comes towards you, it turns them off. It does have sat-nav, it does have television. For the money, I don't think you could buy a better car. I don't even think there's necessarily a better all-round car out there. The only worry is the reliability, but this has, for me, been reliable. If you could afford £10,000 and maybe keep 1,500 quid or £2,000 in a pot, just in case the turbos blow, then you'd probably be okay. But this cruises along at 1,200 revs. 1,200 RPM is nothing. So it's using a drip of fuel, which is why it is always so economical. It's paired with, I think, an 8-speed gearbox. So it is always just flicking through the gears as soon as it can, because it's got an incredible amount of torque. So I think this has sequential turbos, a small one and then a larger one. The small one spools up to give you some more power, and unless you really boot it, it doesn't kick in the big turbo, making the engine more efficient. I'm doing 50 miles an hour and I'm doing what, 1,200 RPM going up a hill. I've eased off a little bit, I'm now at 1,100 RPM. It's just over idle and I'm doing 50, and that's the secret to this engine. It's never stressed, which is why I think the 4.4 V8 long term, and especially as they get older, is the one to have, because it's not working very hard at all. It's got a big lump to carry around, 2.7 tons, but 1,100 RPM at 50 miles an hour. It's not under any stress, is it? And if you do want to put your foot down, I think the 0 to 60 is about 7.5 seconds. So it's no slouch. And that gives you the confidence to overtake. Anyway, I'm about to return home. I'm going to get out, tell you a little bit more about this car, the good, the bad and the ugly. Maybe give you a little walk around of it. The other thing about this car is it is really manoeuvrable. It's not the shortest car in the world, but it is about 20 centimetres narrower than the current Range Rover, which means you do fit into parking spaces better. You do fit down country roads better, and it is much more manoeuvrable on that basis. And whenever you come to a stop in this car, you can lower it by a little button just over here where the controls are. So your natural instinct is you take your hand off the wheel, click the button like that, and the car just gradually lowers to access height. So I don't have to clamber in and out. It's just a nice height to get in and out of. Absolutely superb. See you in a moment. As you can see, this car is pretty dirty, pretty well used, relatively knobbly tyres on it, but it is so quiet to drive. I just find it the most relaxing place to be. And bearing in mind these are £10,000, what else would you go and buy that does as many things as this? But what a classic design. I mean, the surround of the grille, a lot of people say this one is a bit chintzy. It has daytime running lights. Actually, I've got them turned off. Some models you can do it inside the car, and some models you have to go to the dealership to have them turned off. But I just think they look a little bit better without them running unless the headlights are on. I mean, it is 12 years old. The surround of the grille and the design hues around these lights are very much like the Discovery of the same era. And you could, and they are very popular, buy the Discovery 4. And they are more utilitarian, they are slightly more boxy. But I think actually, for what you want out of a car, unless you're going to be putting bales of hay in the back, which many farmers do in the back of one of these, unless you really need that 7-seat capacity, there's no better car that you can buy than this. And the 4.4 is just that little bit more refined. And the petrol engines, I don't know, mixed reviews on those. Some people have had a lot of luck with them and they run really well, but I do know of a couple of people that have had some serious engine problems with them. For me, this is the peak of Range Rover. This is when they got it all just about right. The comfort, the level of utility inside, the big knobs and buttons that you can play with, everything is just there. And then the refinement, the televisions, the armchairs, the fact you can drive 300 miles and the only reason you need to stop is to go to the toilet. It's not because of the car, because you are getting that 30 mpg as well. But at the moment there's a real sweet spot between that 8 to 15, 16,000 pounds, depending on how low a mileage you want. That means you get a really good car for the money. And not only that, you get a really good car for your family too. And I can't think of anything else I'd rather buy. Also, please check out my Rolls-Royce Phantom video. I bought the cheapest Rolls-Royce in the UK that I could find, and I detail what that has cost to own in another video. Please have a look at those, and I'll make a couple more on this. If there's anything specific you want to see, please do let me know. The other great thing about this car is the boot. Now I'm backed up to my garage here, so let's hope it fits. You've got a cover over your head when you're getting stuff in and out. And then it is a Range Rover through and through. I've come to film this bit, and this bit drops down to here. You can hear it firing, but it's not actually working. It's got the genius. Reliable cars through and through. It'll be a small little fix, it'll be a little catch inside, which I'm sure if I take the panel off, it'll be absolutely fine. Well, I can't show you that, but this does drop down, I promise you, and you can sit on it when it works. Anyway, that's the boot, if you can get into it. And until next time, thank you very much for watching. See you soon.